and welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the improvisational storytelling podcast, where every week a few people get together and we tell stories to each other over a nice hot cup of cocoa. I'm, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
And I'm Seth.
And we are here to tell you a story. What elements did you guys have? I had, oh my goodness, my brain just went totally blank. History. What did you guys have?
Genre.
I have beginning scene.
All right, since this really seems like a world-building episode, should we hear the beginning scene first? Or do you want to hear the history first?
Or the genre first?
Or the genre first?
I think what I have could just set it up and then kind of fit with whatever.
Sounds great. Let's hear it.
Okay, so it starts out, guy is running through the woods. He's obviously being chased by some kind of posse, and it's, I would take it so long as, it would make sense that it would be like springtime. So it's not freezing out, but it's not super warm. It's kind of evening, getting to be night. The rivers are cold with the ice water melting off of the colder regions farther at their base. And so he's running through the woods and he gets up to a river and they're kind of closing in on him. And so the only thing he's got left to do is to kind of throw himself in the river. It's not huge, it's not fast flowing, but it's definitely going to be cold. And it's either a, fight with hypothermia or get caught.
Right.
And so he throws himself into the river. Not like throws, not like dives, but starts wading himself across. They start getting closer. And however, then he slips, he tumbles under the water, he grasps onto something, gets back up, and now he's completely drenched, makes it to the other side, and starts going again. But then again, he hears that they're coming up to the water. Hopefully that's, got him off his scent. But, he's obviously not making it much further.
Right.
Or then he collapses, and the last thing he remembers is someone grabbing a hold of him and dragging, pulling him into kind of a dark space. Not in a rough or a, not like he was caught, but someone else must have got him on the other side. The last thing he remembers is, someone, whispering to him, you'll be all right now.
Cool.
That's the beginning scene.
Cool. Genre, Reed?
Action adventure.
Action adventure. High octane adventure. All right. You guys ready for the history? This is a history and maybe a bit of a magic system, depending on if it's yes or no. So the history unfolds like most histories unfold, with sort of natural human developments. Wars separating different political ideas, artistic senses. Humanity had hit probably their, or whatever we're calling this, had hit probably their 23rd century level of technology, right? So we had large spaceships. We were beginning to colonize other worlds, and we were sort of finally crossing, we'll call it Earth. We're finally crossing kind of the last, marking all of the final explorations of the Earth off of our list, right? So we're digging around the Mariana Trench, right? We're boring the hole to the center of the Earth so we can see what's up there. We're doing it.
Right.
There's this push before the sort of first ships left. There was this kind of push to let's fill out the Earth, right? Let's explore the Earth. And we had these ships that we were going to send out. They were very rudimentary, very it wasn't really a for sure thing that these colonizing ships were going to make it, right? Like, we had technology, we had propulsion, but we didn't have any faster than light. We didn't have any instant communication. We were just they were basically colonize it, colonies going out. But in our efforts to fully explore Earth, we found a ship buried hundreds of miles under the Earth, right? A large ship, like the size of the Empire State Building, sort of large, and in our exploration of this seemingly foreign body, we were able to just push humanity past so many things, right? We got like new technology for metal creation. We got some like rudimentary teleportation systems. We were able to like create much faster computers using, crystalline substructures to organize. It was just, this was it. This was the Holy Grail. And because every single part of the sort of exploration of the world was very well broadcast and kind of this kind of worldwide effort, they couldn't hide it, and so it was common knowledge when the first of the what, I don't know what you call them. They look like a mask, right? So imagine just kind of an eyes and nose mask, right? And they found hundreds of thousands of them. We'll say about 100,000 of them
They found these where?
on the ship.
Okay.
And when worn, they were neural network uplink devices, right? They were direct interface communication systems, right? They were deep analyzation systems. You could put one on, and depending on which modules were installed in it, you could see an infrared. You could look at someone and know if they were lying. There's just the ability, your perception ability was just enormous. One of the things they noticed on the ship was that the creatures who had worn them and had made the ship sort of lacked their normal biology, lacked a lot of extra sensory understanding, and they theorized that they created these in order to sort of see the world. So for a human being, it was like a lot of information, but they theorized that for these creatures, it would have been, sort of like the normal amount of information that a person receives. There was a lot of debate as to what to do with the masks. Immediately, they recognized that there were modules installed on the masks, and so all the masks weren't the same. And so categories started to break up. It was like, who's going to keep them? One scientist had one in that like quadrupled his mental processing power, right? He was like keeping up with quantum computers at this point. And it's like, we can't take it away from him, a strategist was wearing one and had like predicted a bunch of asteroid sort of space junk falling just based on predictive modeling. There was like, it's too good to use. So through the next couple of years, basically we put all colonization on hold because it was like, well, now we need to do the best we possibly can. We need to learn as much and then go.
Okay.
Right? And people started to develop, based on this technology, their own. There were still only 100,000 originals, but soon off-brand, cheaper ones and more expensive ones started to flood the markets, and it became more and more of a thing. The governments of the world sort of wanted to decide who got the 100,000, which were the most powerful ones, obviously. The ones that were the most feature suites and had the best connectivity and the best abilities. But the world couldn't agree. There was turmoil, and in sort of like a moment of irritation, rage, and resentment, a bunch of smaller countries who couldn't afford to be part of like the bigger plans, like formed a sort of an alliance and destroyed the information network above the Earth, right? There's this theory that there might be so much junk in space around the Earth at some point that we won't be able to launch rockets anymore.
Right.
And that's what happened. So they, in sort of a spite of rage, said, "Well, if we can't play with the ball, then no one gets to play with the ball." And it sort of plunged the whole Earth into sort of some quick decision, apocalypse-based tactical nuclear strikes. And we're sitting an indeterminate amount of time later, after that has happened, in a sort of reestablishing technology sphere where when it's at nighttime, you see the stars, but there's like 10 times more and it's all moving. And then in the day, you also see stars, but it's not stars. It's all the space junk that's all sort of flying up there. So that's the history.
Cool, man.
Anything you guys want to add?
I just you know what you talked about, this kind of uprising of the less developed
Yeah.
people groups. There's really an interesting. I saw an article today that the Houthis or whatever they are, the guys down in Yemen,
Yeah.
for the first they are attempting a naval blockade using low-tech technology. I mean inexpensive, not low-tech, but inexpensive technology, drones and shore-based missiles.
Yeah.
And a blockade for centuries has been the purview of the most developed nations that had the GDP to actually launch a navy so
Yeah.
that they could do it. These guys are really, dirt poor, but they've got technology that allows them to actually, they're making a credible shot at actually closing the Red Sea.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's forever. It's a dramatic shift in low intensity warfare, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I thought the reason I brought that up is that's what I was thinking is like, here you've got like the high and mighties, the ones that were involved, who had the money, the resources available to do the deep drilling,
Yeah.
and made the big discoveries, when they found the ship and all this. And then you have like the, kind of the Pakistans of the world that are being left out.
Right.
And because of the, technology is available to the user, right? And so they're able to create this kind of mayhem. It's like, if you won't let us play, we're going to take our marbles and go home, so to speak. Anyway, that's what sorry, it's just a random kind of tangential association, but I just thought it was a real interesting that I came across this week.
Yeah, now that you've said that, I think that it's not that they were like, if we can't play, then we're gonna go home. It was more like maybe there was like a dry dock up in orbit.
Yeah.
And they were like, we need to like get a handle on this.
Yeah.
We need to show that we're a force to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
And so they launched an attack on this dry dock, but it kind of cascaded.
Okay.
So it was unintentional. The outfall, the attack was very intentional, but it wasn't so short-sighted, because I don't want them to be the bad guys necessarily. You
Right.
know, sometimes if you're feeling threatened, the best thing to do is to attack.
Yeah.
Even if you're weaker or smaller or the whole world hates you.
Yeah, just try cornering a badger.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're ferocious.
Right. Or maybe attack the bear or the wolves before they like run at you, but when they just kind of start circling you.
Right.
A good offense, a good defense is a good offense, or however that goes.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, at least with part of it, something that might be able to play in later, or just something that's going on, is, so with all the junk up there,
Yeah.
there's some of like the nuclear warfare that went on, And so it's kind of another push to be like, all right, well, we've kind of really buggered up this place now
Right.
for the next, couple hundred years of, trying to either stay in a bunker or find, arable land that's not, radioactive, or getting space junk rained on it. Because as, let's say some military decides to go scramble some jets, right? And they, fly around. If they get too close to the space junk, it messes it up and some of it will fall. So too much activity, up in the upper atmosphere or trying to leave will send a lot of it crashing down if it isn't already.
Right.
And so you have, people trying to get on these cruisers, as rudimentary as they are, hoping that they can get, maybe some of these tickets to, get on a ship that in, 200 years will be on, a new planet. So they might not get there, but,
Right.
as the way it goes, their children's children and their children might get there and be able to start a new life on, Titan 5 or,
Right. So these giant cruisers, maybe they are positioned in an area that has there's a schedule, every 8 months, there's a clear enough space to attempt a takeoff.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they've done the calculations, and there's only the way that it all shifts, only every so often, only about every 8 months, like you said, there's an opening that they can get a cruiser through without, disrupting.
Yeah, so they went from exploration vehicles into arcs, basically.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was also going to say this spaceship, the size of the Empire State Building that they found, it's not like a white obelisk, is it?
No. No. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's connected to those. I mean, it could be, but I wasn't thinking originally that it was connected to those. So, my thought was that I was thinking more of the ships from the Phantom Server books, the Founders ships that were found really far underground. So I have this kind of picture of what you were explaining. I feel like this is this beginning scene is relatively soon, that this whole story, this attack happened 4 months ago, right?
Okay, and the guy that was being chased in the beginning scene,
He's obviously he's a deep cell operator for some country that is considered morally good. A spy for
Guatemala.
Some country. We'll say America. Right?
Oh, cold.
And he is in the mountains of
Uzbekistan.
Well, no, you said cold. So I was thinking like Pakistan or another one of the stands. Yeah. Where does Russia launches all of their Soyuz rockets from a specific country?
Yeah,
that's
that's
not
one that's
Russia.
right under Russia.
It's just really close to Russia. Reed, do you know what that is?
is it Kazakhstan?
I think you might be correct.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would say that, yeah, that's where they are. That's where they are. And he's either going towards the launch site or he's going away from the launch site, right? Because after this sort of happened, all of the countries have their kind of guns to each other's heads, and it's like, all right, get your people to your rockets and then leave, and no one kind of trusts each other. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. That's what I think, the kind of world that we're living in right now. So kind of a reminiscent back to Cold War era Black Ops. This guy is kind of like an operator, as it will. And he has successfully infiltrated and maybe found either the launch time or the launch location. of the other country's rockets. You know. Anyone else have any world building stuff?
I think
I
that's
feel
a
like we're kind
good
of coming up against a wall as far
place
as
to leave
the
it
rest of this. But if
and,
anyone has any more
pick up
world
with
building
some,
stuff,
you know,
we
some
can
characters
do
or-
that, or we'll just call it a night and pick this up next week. Okay, great. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this
8675309.
beginning episode of Wait It Gets Better. If you like this episode, this beginning, let us know. Phone number is... Reed, what's your phone number? No. Phone...
Yeah.
Yeah, 8675309. No, email address is...
75309. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Email address is waititgetsbettercast@gmail.com. Twitter is getsbettercast. Send me a message if you think you have a cool idea for the story. If you don't have a cool idea for the story and you just want to wait, we will see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.